Welcome, friends. My name is Gurmeet Goindi. I go by Gigi. I'm a product manager in Google Databases product team. Today, I'll be talking about bare metal solutions and how bare metal solutions enable all our enterprises to bring all their workloads closer to GCP, regardless if their workloads were written for a cloud native environment or not. As you know, most of our enterprises that we work with are planning to move to a public cloud environment. Not only that, Gartner surveyed a lot of these enterprises, and they came to a conclusion that 80% of these enterprises will move out of their own operated data centers by 2025. A lot of you are already in the journey of moving out of your current infrastructure to a cloud-based environment, either in a public cloud setting or in a private cloud setting. What are the key migration and modernization challenges that most of our enterprise customers face? First and foremost, owning and operating the infrastructure was a big differentiator for a lot of the enterprises 20 years ago. But given the advances that we have in current silicon technology, whether it's compute or storage or networking, the differentiation owning and operating your infrastructure brings in is fairly low to your business. Secondly, most enterprises want to embrace the methodology of developing applications in cloud, whether it would be agile development models, whether it would be absorbing new technologies like artificial intelligence and ML at a much quicker phase, or whether it be adapting a very different way, a DevOps different way, a driven way of running IT. But where the complexity comes in is how do you marry these two different concepts? And this is where Google Cloud steps in. Our goal is to meet you where you are, to be a partner in creating a migration strategy that lets you run what you want, where you want, how you want, take your investment in your current assets and gradually roll them out into the best available platform for them in a public cloud. Our goal here is to reduce your risk, reduce your cost, at the same time maintaining an agility to bring your mission critical workloads as close as to Google Cloud and modernize from there on. We believe this to be a three-step journey. First, all the workloads that you run today, which are not written to run in a cloud native environment, we'll move them as is. By moving them as is, we reduce your risk it takes to come run in near a public cloud environment. Second, we also divert your investment in rather retuning your application, your existing applications to run, the existing legacy applications to run in a public cloud environment, rather taking that investment to modernize those applications to run natively in a public cloud environment. Third, in this approach, we believe not only you can do this at a much reduced cost with a much reduced risk, but at the same time, we can speed up your journey to migration to cloud. And each application will have its own unique journey. Each application has its unique business value to you as a customer, and we understand that. And we are here to support the unique journey per application. Some of them will lift and shift from on-premises and stay in cloud as is. Some of them will have to modernize before they can be lift and shift. Some of them might have to be rewritten in a cloud native format. Google Cloud provides option for all these paths with your business goals being central to in our minds. Let's see how bare metal solutions and play a role in solving these problems. But before we go there, let's define and let's try to characterize what those challenges are. First, majority of your mission critical applications run on on databases that were not natively written for cloud. Same time, they are the pieces of applications that runs the core of your business. They have a very high impact on how your business runs today. Second, they are really complex in their own requirements. They have been written over the years. They have a plethora of combinations of off-the-shelf apps and the apps that were written homegrown, the apps that have contributions for decades by your engineers and other engineers. So migrating such apps or re-architecting these apps need careful attention, and that's where Google Cloud comes in. In addition, some of these apps also might have very stringent hardware requirements, the type of hardware the particular software vendors will certify, and these apps will have to run on those hardware. And here also bare metal comes in and solves that problem by providing a certified hardware to run your applications. But what's the crux of this challenge is the interoperability of between your various databases, various mid-tiers, where applications is also a challenge. In many cases, a lot of our customers don't even have a full view of how intertwined their application estate is with the database estate. You cannot modernize just one without also paying careful detail attention to the other. With this care kept in mind, we develop bare metal solutions, which provides you the best platform to migrate all your legacy and complex apps, which are difficult to modernize, as close as to cloud, and then on a step-by-step gradual manner, take these applications and migrate them and modernize them in a cloud native environment wherever it's possible. Let's see what Google Bare Metal Solutions offer you. The key the key context of bare metal solutions is our ability to offer purpose-built hardware. A lot of software vendors and a lot of operating system vendors have restrictions on the kind of hardware their applications can run on, the kind of hardware that gives them the best maximum performance for their databases or applications. So what we have done is taken the latest and the greatest the silicon industry has to offer, marry it what a certified soft hardware list for these specialized vendors would be, and provide you in a setting in which is very close to GCP from a latency standpoint, and you have all access to all your GCP services from this purpose-built hardware solution and vice versa, so that you can move the data freely between the two. At the same time, your applications that are running in one way or the other do not see significant network latency difference between the two as well. We wrap this around a Google managed billing and support services. At the same time, you contract with Google for all your bare metal needs. Google is the only party you engage with. Google uh, in turn procures the latest and the greatest the hardware industry has to offer and provides that in the bare metal solution for you. But you might ask, what happens to all the investment that you have already made? Your existing database administrators teams, system administrator teams, what happens to all the system integrators you have been working on over the years? You can bring them as is to this environment. For most reasons, this environment will look like a new hardware refresh to what you're already doing. And you can pick and choose the pieces of infrastructure that you need to modernize, move to cloud native, or keep them in bare metal as your application needs dictates. Most tech enthusiasts will say, I will only believe this when I see architecture diagrams. So I wanted to walk you through how the architecture looks like, and also open the possibilities of what you can do with this architecture and how you can bring in some of the most complex workloads you run to this architecture. Two aspects of this. On the right side, what you see is a region extension. This is a dedicated hardware hosting space, which is connected with low latency interconnected Google Cloud. Every entity in Google Cloud is able to access every entity in the region extension with latencies in most cases less than 1 milliseconds, in some cases less than 2 milliseconds. From an application perspective, or from a database perspective, or from a middle tier perspective, this all sits in one large networking construct, and every application have access to every other entity running in this extension. The three common design patterns that we see: first is, in some cases, customers want to run their packaged apps, which only runs on certain certified hardware, directly on a bare metal server. Second, customers have bring in their database and keep their applications in GCP, and the database comes with their own internal tooling, their own internal monitoring, their own internal best practices. They can bring the internal tooling and the database as is and run on the bare metal servers and connect seamlessly to the applications running in GCP. The third design pattern we see, the customer just comes with the database. In such scenarios, we provide an automation toolpack which makes the lifecycle of database managing a database much easier. This automated toolpack is an open source contribution from Google. You can find that at GitHub. It's written in Ansible. It automates the tasks like provisioning a database, provisioning a backup, provisioning a standby database, and hence and so forth. You can pick and choose the amount of automation you need. You can modify this automation. If you want some features to be added from us, you can request that and we can do that as well. Net, we have the capability to emulate any design pattern that you have today and bring it and run it in region extensions for you. One key aspect of any database deployment is storage. And we use state-of-the-art tier 1 storage. I'll talk a little bit more about what all we do for storage and operating systems in this. One key aspect for any software that runs in region extension is that it follows the bring your own license model. You have root access to the servers, you have root access to the database. You Google has no visibility on what kind of applications you're running on the bare metal servers, but we do make the user's life easier by providing technologies like snapshots. So for example, today you might be running Red Hat Linux in one of the bare metal server, and then you probably have 100 bare metal servers, and you probably want to patch them at some point in time. Since all these servers are diskless and they all boot from a SAN, all you have to do is take a snapshot of one of the golden images and then roll it across your entire fleet using the same snapshot. Hence, lowering the amount of effort that you have to spend on managing an operating system patch across your fleet. The same model can be applied to applications running on top of these operating systems as well. Let's talk about what Google provides as a service in this model and what's our customer responsibility here. So in a high-level construct, we manage anything that has to do with the hardware. So we provide you the facilities, we provide the power cooling, we provide the physical security, we manage the network security, we make sure uh, all the break fix and smart hands is handled by us for you. At the same time, we also tune the storage for best application performance. We have worked with industry standard vendors or industry leading vendors. We have taken their best practices, combined with the best practices of all the specialized software vendors, and implemented that in the bare metal solution. So when we provision a storage for you, it has been auto-tuned for the max performance for that database or the application that you're planning to run on top of it. It takes a big chunk away of work that needed to be done when you move from on-premises to the cloud. Again, on being on the guiding principle here, the migration to our service running in cloud, our goal is to minimize your effort required to do so, so that you can take that extra resources in modernizing those applications. Everything that runs in bare metal environment have access to all Google services. And top of that, Google takes care of support, billing, and, and hardware monitoring tools. Let's talk about what's your responsibility. I touched about the OS configuration responsibility earlier. The same applies to application installation, configuration, and management. Our automation toolpack helps in that area for some database deployments and database management and database backup and DR. At the same time, we are able to emulate some of the most complex on-premises networks in our region extension, which are plugged into the Google interconnect. So all your services appear as if they're running in a giant network construct, and they can be accessed across the interconnect globally. Second, when it comes to management, we provide an SLA driven service for infrastructure. We managed everything that goes on with the infrastructure, and anything that goes on with the application is managed by our customers. You can work with Google Marketplace tools to help that experience be more managed. At the same time, you can use your own system integrators to have that experience more managed. For backup and recovery, we do provide local storage for your instant restore backups. At the same time, the customers have full flexibility to have snapshots for their databases and applications as well. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Before we go discuss the details of what shapes we provide and what storage properties we provide, let's talk about what your support experience would be. This is a Google first party service. Google is responsible for the support, first level support of what happens in the region extension. Google is responsible for bare metal hardware, your network, your interconnect, your security, rather it be physical or be it network security. We take care of facilities. We provide you with smart hand support. At the same time, we have a collaborative support model with some enterprise applications and all operating system vendors in which we help our customers triage operating system issues and application issues. At the same time, this is a 3 nines SLA, infrastructure SLA by Google, and we are accountable for that. We also have solution guides that enable database workloads that takes that 3 9 SLAs and implement a 4 9 or a 5 9 service on top of that. In addition to this, we also provide consultative support for application debugging. For example, say your application or database has a particular issue, and then you call uh, Google support for helping you out with the issue. A consultative support team will look at the issue and provide you guidance. What's the best logs you need to procure? What's the best metrics you need to procure so that you can work actively with your own with your own software provider and get to a root cause sooner than later. It's a very unique operating model that we have, and we have staffed some of the brightest support teams when it comes to application support in this regard. Now let's take a deep look on what kind of bare metal service we provide, what's the storage flavors we offer, and how they all work together and where the tuning happens. So two broad category of servers, small and medium, which we think will be very useful for single high performance apps at the same time as dev test systems, and at the same time as cluster database systems. Large and extra large machines to enable mission critical apps which have that kind of demand from the infrastructure. One way we are very unique compared to any other public cloud vendor is we adapt the latest and the greatest silicon technology very soon it's released. At the same time, we offer full bare metal configurations with the highest memory to core density ratio. Why I'm talking about memory to core density ratio? Memory to core density ratio is very important when you talk about databases and applications. The higher the ratio, the more databases and the more applications you can run on the same server. And that has an order of magnitude impact on the software licensing and software support you have to pay for that server. Not even to talk about the management benefits you get for managing a fewer amount of servers rather than a large amount of servers. Today, we offer Intel Cascade Lake servers, which are the latest that Intel offers today, and we'll keep our cadence as and when the new silicon technologies come on the horizon. One very unique offering to bare metal solution is a 4-socket 112 core machines. They offer contiguous 3 terabyte memory, probably ready for the most stringent database or application you have in your enterprise to be run right next to Google Cloud with all the cloud goodness. For applications, what really matters for the performance is how well the storage performs, how well the storage handles linear scalability, how well storage handles bottlenecks, and how well storage handles noisy neighbors. What we have done here has taken the best practices of our tier one storage vendor and the best practices of most operating systems and application vendors and incorporated them in this deployment model. So when you provision an all NVMe-based storage in our environment, it's a linear performance model. As and then you add more storage, you get more guaranteed or assured performance at a very low latency. You can do hundreds and thousands of IOPS well below 1 millisecond, some things that transactional databases really like, and some things that a lot of DBA teams struggle and invest a lot to get that right level of tuning. In bare metal solutions, we take care of that for all of our customers. Uh, a second thing that's very important for databases and applications is ability to restore your local backups quicker. For that, we offer in this construct all disk storage, which is connected within the region. So you do not have to go to an object storage access as you might have to do in other public clouds, which you can access really, really quickly in case of a disaster or in case of any rollback issues that you might have. All these storage offerings are configured with automated snapshots. Automated snapshots are really helpful for databases and application test dev. At the same time, they're very helpful for data protection of the environment as well. Our storage has full connectivity to GCS, that's Google Cloud Storage. You can move backups from all disks to cold tier and nearline tier in GCS and take full advantage or cost advantage of a public cloud storage platform in that regard. You can also connect these database and application servers to applications running or analytics running in Google Cloud. In this case, Google Cloud Analytics and Google Cloud will have direct low latency access to your transactional databases. You can run AI ML models on top of your transactional databases in real time to help you make better decisions. The possibilities that you have with this architecture are endless. We marry the best Google Cloud has to offer with the best silicon technology that exists there and provide a very secure low latency offering, all backed behind a Google SLA. All these servers that we use here are diskless. They all boot from network mounted storage. Their operating systems are also hosted in the network mounted storage. There is no data that is persistent on the servers, hence makes the lifecycle management of the server very, very efficient. At the same time, the network between the servers and the storage is configured by us. The network between the servers and the GCP is also configured by Google. The network between the server and the application tier is also configured by Google. Now, let's take how will this architecture actually look in real life and how will your applications use this? I'm using a very simplistic construct. I'm sure your workloads are much more complex than this. And our teams will be happy to simplify that to your current architectures and marry them with our design patterns. What I'm showing here is a clustered database running in the region extension, which is getting replicated using database native technology to another region extension. So within the region extension, the clustered database provides you high availability built on database's native capabilities. At the same time, it uses the Google's networking backbone to replicate to the next region, to another region, and make sure you have the right DR strategy in place as well. You can run your write-heavy transactional workloads on one region extension, and you can run your read-heavy workloads on the other region extensions, again, using all database native technologies. In both these constructs, you have full access to a toolpack, which you can use to manage the storage for the database, install the database, configure the backup for the database, configure replication for the database, uh, do things like patching pre-checks for the database using the toolpack, or, or integrate the toolpack in your existing tooling as well. At the same time, the applications running in Google Cloud, they for them the database appears as if it's on the other applications of running a region extension appears as if they're running as a, within the Google Cloud construct, enabling seamless development of new applications along your on top of your business critical data. At the same time, uh, allowing you a chance to modernize your architecture at a piece by piece level and at a pace that makes the most sense for your business while controlling cost and managing risk. The next natural question would be, hey Gigi, I heard a lot about this technology. How can I consume this? So today we are GA in 5 regions globally. We are available in Frankfurt and London in Europe. We are available in Los Angeles and Virginia in the US. We are live in Sydney and in APAC. So we have a complete, truly global footprint, and this footprint is expanding as we speak. Within this year, we will have 4 more regions turned on. One will be in Singapore, Tokyo, followed by Netherlands and Brazil, Sao Paulo. Developed with one thing in mind: to meet our customers where they are, whether it is their migration journey, whether it's their modernization journey, whether it's an ability to lift and shift their workloads, or whether it be the region which they are most active or most prevalent in. With that being said, thank you for taking the time and listening to your talk. It's always great to bring the latest innovation that we are creating in GCP and share it with our customers. So thank you for your time, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon.